Remember to turn the lights off. Submitted by Dr. Elsewhere. Remember to turn the lights off when you leave the room is a platitudinous battle cry of fathers everywhere, and mine was no exception. My father would have a freak out over a bedroom light being on when the room was vacated. I called it his zap attack. My sister, Lowry, and I would shrug our shoulders, roll our eyes, then do as we were told. Turn off that light when you finish, make sure the fridge door closes all the way, you don't need the hallway light on right now, who left the porch light on? His zap attacks were endless and seemingly pointless. The indefatigable effort taken by my father to condition Lowry and I to do his bidding irked us to the bone. However, his cyclical pattern of reminders was effective. An unattended light in our home became a rare occurrence. My father made plenty of money working in the high-energy physics program under the Department of Energy, so it's not like we were poor, scrounging cash up each month to pay the electric bill and hoping that 10 extra seconds of wasted 60-watt bulb illumination didn't put us in the red. By all standards, we were wealthy. Lowry and I never understood what the big deal was when we accidentally left a light on. My father was always like this, though. Overly cautious to the point of paranoia. At times, Lowry and I discussed he might need to be medicated or, at a minimum, talk to a professional. That never happened. Any documentation of that nature could have disastrous consequences for his professional career in the government. 4 months ago, after my high school graduation, my father threw a small party at our home and invited his family and friends. It was kind of a look what my son accomplished, and yes, he did get into Harvard Showcase. My obligation was to stand there and tell people how excited I was with a big grin on my face, but the guests were rather dull. Except for one man who struck up a conversation with me. He turned out to be an old contemporary of my father's, a peer of his during their tenure at the department but had since moved on to bigger and better things in politics. He explained how brilliant my father was and expounded on some scientific jargon about particles and quantum theories about radiation. I nodded like I understood, but I didn't. However, I took it as a compliment when he said my father is a pioneer in the field of modern high-energy physics. It was a proud moment that was quickly spoiled when he brought up my deceased mother. Your father was brilliant, I should say. After your mother was lost he just wasn't the same. That spark your father had vanished with Elena. I'd never known my mother. She died when I was 4. My sister was still in diapers when father sat me down and explained mom died in a vehicle collision. It took a day for me to feel the full impact of her absence. I sobbed uncontrollably the next night when only my father tucked me in bed. Only brief glimpses of past experiences gave me a window into what my mother was like, but they were on the other side of vague. Simple recollections of her tying my shoe. The sting of alcohol on a wound she poured over a scraped knee. Her hair that was always pulled back into an officious bun. Other than that, I didn't know her. Father rarely spoke of her. He never remarried, or went on dates for that matter. It was always just the 3 of us. Although Lowry and I didn't remember our mother, we missed her. But we did have several photographs. My favorite was one of her in her work attire, light green scrubs with a rubber apron, hands wrapped in bulky yellow gloves, her hair pulled back into a tight bun. I always thought she looked like a futuristic chambermaid. I guess, to be more accurate, a futuristic chambermaid with an IQ of 150. Father had told us one time, after he'd consumed 3 glasses of wine, that our mother would joke to close friends and family that she married down as our father had been tested with an IQ of only 140. Father told us that Helena was like that. Braggadocious in a rakish type of way. Intelligent and witty. Confident in her abilities as a technician in the same department my father worked, yet much more liked by all the employees. God, I miss her, he'd told us. I remember I could hear father crying in his room the night he told us that story. Drunk on wine. Drunk on sorrow. After the old contemporary of my father's finished dredging up the past at my graduation party, he gave me an austere look and placed a hand on my shoulder. What all has your father told you about the disappearance of your mother? Disappearance? She died in a car accident when I was 4. He squeezed my shoulder. Oh, yes. You're right. I apologize, it must have slipped my mind. Old age makes the gears not run so smoothly, I'm afraid. I didn't see him again after he turned away and rejoined the crowd. If I had to guess, I'd say he immediately left after his conversation with me. I remember thinking, how could someone close to my father not remember my mom's unfortunate death? The encounter was very odd. Last week something else odd happened. I was home from college for the holidays, and father was having a zap attack about Lowry leaving a front porch light on. She argued it was on for me, as I'd just finished a 6-hour drive from Harvard, and it was near midnight, but Father rebuffed her justification. "The moon is full tonight. Your brother can see the porch steps adequately. Turn the light off." This argument is what I came home to, but I didn't take it to heart. Actually, it made me laugh. "Yep," I said with a heavy dose of sarcasm. "I'm back at home, all right." We had a good laugh. Lowry switched off the light, and the action assuaged Father enough that I convinced him to go with his children to the local McDonald's that stayed open all night. Before Father could refuse over his usual concerns against fast food, I assured him the trip was for ice cream and not fatty, processed burgers. The plea worked, and all three of us packed into my sedan and took off. The drive-through line was sparse, so we pulled up to the menu immediately. I was overjoyed to find that the ice cream machine wasn't broken like it often was during late-night ice cream excursions. 3 vanilla cones later, we were headed back home. Around the corner, on Applestone Drive, one could spot our house. Typically, it was easy to locate which property belonged to us during the nighttime. Our home was the black, unlit space between all the neighboring, electricity-filled homes. Except this time, when I rounded the corner of Applestone, I could see our house. I pulled up to the curb and jammed the sedan in the park, still laughing and slurping the cone treat in my hand. My hand grabbed the door handle, but I was pulled back with such force my cone fell onto the pedals. My father had my shirt wrapped tightly in his fist. "Dad? What?" His attention was toward the house. Toward the bay window that looked out to the street. Yellow light poured out of it. "Damn. You scared me," I said, pulling his hand away. "It's just a light. We must have left the chandelier on." "I didn't leave it on," Lowry mumbled from the back seat, her mouth slightly numb from the ice cream. Father jerked toward the back. "Are you sure, Lowry?" "Sure of what?" "Are you sure you didn't leave the light on?" The rise in his voice made Lowry stop eating. "Yeah. I'm sure." "Are you absolutely positive?" "I'm serious." Yes, I'm positive. What does it matter?" Father turned to me, his eyes a glistening rage in the moonlight. "Did you leave?" "No," I shouted. I'd had enough of his insane conduct. All the years of constant zap attacks had pushed me over the edge. What started as a nice night had been swallowed and spit out by his eccentric behavior. "No, Dad, I didn't leave a light on. And even if I did, so what? Who gives a damn? It's just an electrical current heating a filament. It's not important. It doesn't change anything." Father gave a weak sigh then turned toward the house. "If only you kids knew." Lowry and I exchanged glances. "We need to leave," he said. "Drive, right now." "Dad? Go." I shoved the car in drive, slammed the ice cream-soaked accelerator, and the tires barked all the way to where Applestone Drive met Red Trout Lane. What started as an angry, indignant press of the pedals swiftly morphed into a fearful act to flee. As we scurried away from the unused light inside our home, I checked the rearview mirror. Silhouetted against the bright bay window was a figure standing in our home, beckoning me to return. The figure wore light green scrubs with a rubber apron. Its hands were wrapped in bulky yellow gloves and its hair pulled back into a tight bun. It looked like a futuristic chambermaid. I guess, to be more accurate, a futuristic chambermaid with an IQ of 150.